You are listening to Processing Trauma Out Loud, conversations about trauma and healing from two women who are doing the work.
Hey everyone, this is Kandace and Sher with Processing Trauma Out Loud. And if you notice, Sher and I are actually physically together. Sher and her husband drove from
Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Yeah. And Sher and I are just spending a few days together. We're going to get to do some recording and just have some fun together. So Sher, love being with you in person.
I know. It's just the best. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, we're going to get into a topic that I want to say, I have had several people, I just had someone yesterday or a couple days ago say, I love listening to you and share care for one another.
Yeah.
And I hear that and it's just so natural.
Yeah.
I don't think we're doing anything special.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean?
We do care about each other.
But it is special, but I think hearing that people notice that, that's sweet.
And we've learned how to not be afraid to really reach out to not only each other, but other people too, in ways around big topics with much more freedom.
Mm-hmm.
I think us doing the work on our own stories helps us be able to move toward each other and then others in their big stories. And we're not afraid to go to the hard places.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wonderful to offer it and it's wonderful to receive it. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm very grateful that we have stayed on this journey so long together.
Yeah.
So,
me too.
Okay. So for our topic for today, we are going to be looking at power. Specifically today, we're going to talk about what does it mean to feel powerless, to be powerless? What is power? Good power, harmful power? We're just going to have a few episodes that we're talking about this topic of power and powerlessness. So, Sher, I'm going to just start out asking you, what can you describe not only what is powerlessness? I'm curious about what it has felt like to you.
Yeah. I think, and I want to just say that whenever we've experienced trauma of any kind, I think it puts us somewhat into a place of powerlessness, particularly childhood trauma and complex childhood trauma, which means that we're in the context of ongoing trauma without help or escape. And so it's like we're constantly in this place, this setting, this home where we don't have power. And by that, I mean, there's a vast power differential, which there is going to be anyway between a parent and a child. But then when there's an abuse of power, where the child they feel like they don't have a voice, that what they want doesn't matter, that they're not invited forward even to name what their needs are. And in some ways, and in a lot of ways, the child has to figure out how to take care of their own needs, because even asking for what they feel like they need can feel unsafe and even dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think that when we're in those kind of situations of the ongoing trauma, it puts us into this place where we literally feel like we do not have power to have our needs met.
Mm-hmm. Thinking of developmental trauma and what it looks like for a parent to begin to actually help a child cultivate their good power.
Yeah.
And I thought of something that I've seen my youngest daughter do with my grandson. He gets to, at times, for certain situations, he gets to look at his mom and say, no, thank you. So she's created this space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now there's some things,
yeah,
even if he said no, thank you, she would have to say, well, we still have to go to bed. But I appreciate that you're not feeling like you want to go to bed right now. And I hear you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just like, I love that. So she's already saying, you have a voice and I want you to use it.
Yeah.
And you get to say, no, thank you.
Yeah. Which is so important, because one of the hallmarks of powerlessness is that our no was not respected. And that as as a child in that situation, we experienced harm and we didn't have the freedom or the capability to be able to say, no, I want that to stop. It didn't matter. It didn't stop.
And sometimes we did say no,
Right.
and it didn't
Yep.
matter. And
Yeah.
like you said, the ongoing message is it doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter what you desire. And here's what I say: chronological age, just because you're aging doesn't make that belief system go away.
Right.
So you age chronologically, you grow up physically, and that belief system is still 7 or 8 years old.
Yes. And so you go into your teen years and you still feel like you don't have a voice and you can't say no and you can't express what you need. And you go into your college years or your early adult years and that you're still in the same thing. You get into maybe a long-term relationship or married and you still feel, and you're probably attracted people around you who had more power and more freedom to use their voice because that is what felt the most comfortable. And so then you get maybe even into a marriage where you can't say no and you can't express your needs. And it can feel just really hard.
I know of a situation that someone that their experience was is to say no is mean.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's such a young story.
Yeah.
To say no, you're being mean to someone.
Yeah.
And so my question is, if our yes is being mean to ourselves, why don't we matter in the equation?
Mm-hmm. Say that again.
So the message was, if I say no, I feel like I'm being mean to someone.
Yeah.
But if you have to go against yourself,
yeah,
why aren't you in the equation of mattering?
Yeah. And that is the problem. One of the problems with powerlessness is that you do feel like you don't matter and that the person with the power is the one who matters. They get to say what goes. They get to make the decisions. And that, as I think you're pointing out, that sometimes to use your voice, to ask for what you need or to say no literally feels dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the danger can come into one, either the person's reaction could be volatile, but a lot of time it's more of this, here we go again, this unconscious belief that to say no will mean disconnection, will mean abandonment. But, Sher, one of the things that we talked about that I want to at least bring up in this episode is like, we know there are situations where someone feels like they have no options. And I'm going to say they kind of don't,
right,
in a way.
Yeah.
And it is like, what do we do when we're in a situation where we may not have provision to set a boundary,
right,
or will be cut off? What about somebody that's in coercive or threatening situations that if you do this, this is going to happen? I will say, we're not going to just throw blanket things out there. You should do this. You should do this. What I want to say is slowing down and really getting connected to what the truth is of what's going on for you. And finding someone, even just one person that you can share that truth with, and someone that I'm going to say is trauma informed and is not going to tell you what to do and actually put you in a more harmful situation.
Right.
Like we've got to cover the bases here.
Yeah.
And it may sound like we're being extreme. There are many people in situations like this, Sher.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's deeply sad because some of these situations can be corrected within the relationship. They can be.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, people pay a very high price to either get out or try to get out.
That's right. Yeah. Which makes it very difficult. And whether you have to pay a high price or not, before you move toward that, you definitely feel like you will have to pay the high price. And so then you do feel like you have no options. And this is where I feel that it's so important for people to recognize that as adults, we do have options. Like, regardless of the situation that you're in, you do have options. And will they be difficult? Some of them, yes, absolutely. Are there times when there are no easy alternatives? Yes, a lot of times. But I'm grateful that we do live in an age where there are hotlines, there are safe houses, there are podcasts. There are so many opportunities where we can get information. There are county programs. There are really things that do help people who are in the situation where they feel like, I can't make a change. If I make a change, my life might even be in danger. There are options, and it's really important for us to recognize that we do have options, because if we do not believe we have options, we truly believe that we are in a victim holding pattern. And then it is literally impossible to begin to move. We literally are stuck.
Yeah, and we're in that young place.
Yes.
Right. Because we were a victim.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the process of the new neural pathways that takes shape over time, it doesn't necessarily, that doesn't happen by just waking up. Oh, well, I believe this. It's little baby steps that you begin to take to show yourself that you can, you can do little things over time. And then you begin to trust yourself.
Yeah.
That you can make decisions based on what's good and right and best for you.
Yes. And we're going to talk more about that next week. And that is, how do we begin to move away from powerlessness? It's a very hard place to be, but it's a very real place to be. And as we're trying to really communicate here, we know that many people are stuck here.
Yeah, I'm holding, Sher, that I'm just going to name it. Women who begin to talk about it, and to even share their stories about it. It's not always well received, and we're kind of okay with that. We know our heart. We 100% want to see people healed and restored. Everyone. And yet we know that that's not always going to happen. And what do you do with the person who is going to maybe get slaughtered by certain communities or their family and to be judged? And I mean, we see it happen all the time. These women are literally fighting for their lives and protecting their kids, and they're the ones getting ostracized. And kind of tired of that.
We're tired of that. Yeah. Okay. And that's why we want to really talk about this, because I think it maybe needs to be talked about more, because it's so real. And we have all of our reasons why we do get stuck here. And I'm going to make a statement, and it feels a little hard to say it, but I think it's important to say it, that when we are in a situation, in a relationship where we feel like we are powerless, but as an adult today, we have all of our reasons why we're here. And those reasons usually go back to our young stories of trauma. But if we're here and we've been here for a while, the fact is it has worked.
Yeah.
It has worked. It hasn't maybe worked well. It hasn't felt good, but it has worked. So then when we get to this place where we start recognizing that it just isn't working for me anymore, like I put up with this for a long time. I thought it would change. I've tried to make some changes, but nothing seems to it's not working for me anymore. What do we do when we hit that wall?
Yeah, we can talk about that.
That's what we're going to talk about next.
Yeah. And so we're talking about, you just heard our passion get stirred up over this. We're talking women in relationships, but I want to just say it's any relationship.
Absolutely.
Where the power dynamic is not equal. And so We will be back next week and talk more about what can we do when we find that we are kind of stuck in that powerlessness place.
Yeah.
Good to be with you today, Sher.
You too, Candace. Love you, friend.
Kind of a little bit of a heavy topic, but
I know.
yeah,
Well,
it's a worthy topic.
that's us.
Okay. Good to be with you.
Thank you for listening to Processing Trauma Out Loud. Make sure to check out the show notes for links to suggested resources and social media. Like, subscribe, and follow to keep up with our weekly content. And if you don't mind, take a moment to rate and review us. Your feedback is extremely valuable and contributes to the success of this podcast. One last thing. If you have found this podcast helpful in any way, or if you have questions on how to take the next steps on your healing journey, please reach out to us via email at KandaceSher@gmail.com. That's KandaceSher@gmail.com. Our sound engineer is Jeremiah Jones of Auditory LLC. We welcome you to join us for more conversations soon. Take care.